The story kicks off with a woman sprinting like her life depended on it because, well, it did. Gasping for air, she stumbled more than once, nearly eating pavement each time, before finally reaching her front door. She slammed it shut, locked it in a panic, darting to the window as if it held her next shot at survival. But should we say she ran out of luck, or straight into bad luck? Because in the next breath, her door was no more. It splintered into a mess of jagged wood, as two masked figures casually stepped through the wreckage like it was just another Tuesday. One of them, voice dripping with mockery, asked where she thinks she's going. Ah, classic. Clearly, this poor woman had crossed the wrong people. Tears welled in her eyes, not exactly the badass resistance we were hoping for. She called them filthy aberrants and declared that the Corps would never let them get away with this. Really, a final speech delivered seconds before what looked very much like certain death. A hooded figure in the pig mask stepped forward. With a smirk behind that snout, he complimented her on the nice little monologue. The next thing she saw, the cold gleam of a blade. The scene shifted to a young woman, clearly our protagonist, whose attention was entirely consumed by a breaking news broadcast. The headline? The brutal murder of a prosecutor. Or a judge. Honestly, it was hard to tell with the media these days. Let's call her Yuan for convenience. Yuan was so locked in that she didn't even register her sister calling out to her until the television clicked off. Yuan, ever the timid soul, immediately apologized for absolutely nothing, as if her existence alone was an inconvenience. But Minji wasn't done. She launched into a tirade, complaining about how they, whoever they were, had killed the judge but left the rest of the family untouched, as if vengeance should come with a body count quota. Yuan? She looked like she'd just seen a ghost. Or worse, like she just realized the ghost was living in her house and shared her DNA. She further asked if our protagonist was taking her final aberrancy test. Yuan's entire demeanor changed in an instant. She turned to her sister, met her gaze with the kind of deadpan intensity usually reserved for movie villains, and informed her that she would never be like her. Yuan walked out, leaving behind an awkward silence and one very stunned Minji, who probably didn't see that one coming. Stepping out of the house, Yuan practically walked straight into trouble. Well, trouble wrapped in the form of a guy whose entire vibe screamed bad news. You know, the kind of guy you pray your daughter never brings home. She stopped dead in her tracks, dumbfounded. Out of everyone she could have bumped into today, he was the last person on her list. His name, as we would soon learn, was Jisoo. Yuan wasted no time. She reminded him, again, that she had lost count of how many times she had warned him to stay away from her house. Not that it mattered. Jisoo clearly wasn't the type to take a hint or a direct order. Brushing off her scolding like it was background noise, Jisoo casually announced that he couldn't wait to take the aberrancy test. That wiped the expression right off Yuan's face. Her entire demeanor turned to ice as she calmly informed him that it wasn't exactly something worth celebrating. At this point, it seemed like a good idea to finally explain what all this aberrant was about. Turns out, aberrants were people whose essence overflowed, giving them powers most could only dream of. Sound cool, right? Not quite. Those who tested negative for aberrancy got a shiny little peace card and were free to live out their boring, normal lives. As for those who tested positive, well, let's just say they get drafted into the National Killing Machine program, and free will wasn't exactly part of the benefits package. Back to Yuan. She went on to explain, with the kind of exhaustion only years of trauma could produce, that her mother, father, and even her dear sister were all aberrants, and had been her personal nightmare ever since she could remember. All she ever wanted was to test negative, snag her shiny little peace card, and live a normal, boring life far away from all the madness. Too bad the odds weren't exactly in her favor, considering her entire family was already genetically wired to be walking disasters. Moments later, the scene cut to Jisoo, bleeding from every hole in his face, barely clinging to life. Opposite him was a white-haired woman, without a shred of emotion. She let his lifeless hand slip from her grasp. Not missing a beat, she smiled, a bright, almost cheerful thing, and remarked that another aberrant had been added. She then turned to the suited man standing obediently behind her, calmly instructing him to clean up the mess, claiming it was a shame she couldn't chat with Jisoo because of his condition. Just pure, unfiltered villain energy. Honestly, Yuan had been right to trust her instincts. In the very next scene, it was Yuan's turn to be tested, with a fake smile that could make a vulture uncomfortable. Introducing herself with sickening sweetness, Officer and announced she'd be the one conducting the aberrancy test. And all I could think was, girl run. Before Yuan could even sit, Officer and dropped the whole friendly officer act, asking point blank if she had any aberrants in her family. Yuan, looking her dead in the eyes, simply replied, saying she has no family, claiming the answer to the question is no. Honestly, if anyone had told me our girl was this good at lying, I wouldn't have believed it. But here she was tossing her entire bloodline under the bus without even blinking. Give this girl an award, one for lying and another for doing it so smoothly you'd almost want to believe her. Officer and chuckled as she stood, essence flaring to life without so much as a warning. In a blink, her finger pressed against Yuan's forehead. The reaction was instant. Essence tore out of Yuan like a dam had broken. The force so strong her glasses cracked straight down the middle. Just like that, the one thing Yuan had feared most was now a reality. Yuan stared at her hands, horrified, as streams of essence poured from her fingertips. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Should I keep going with this series or start something new? Drop your opinions in the comments below. If this story hits you like it hit me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too. Drop a like if your jaw dropped, and let me know in the comments, what would you have done in that scene? And with that, I'm out.